这样没有停。
太那个没有任何太干扰。
Shall we mute ourselves?
你都是帮小孩子。
明姐下个月是谁啊
？KK。
太那个
哦，我要问那个问题，Does know? Shall we mute ourselves?
你都是帮小孩子。
好了，我们现在可以开始了啊！主持人，
哦，sorry。
We're going to start in about 2 minutes. We'll wait for more people to join.
How many people do we have?
11.
Sounds fun. It's a long day for me. I feel like I'm staring at my slides. So weird.
My sweetheart. One. Whoopsies. Okay, let's start, guys. Good evening, everyone. I am Zira Liu, an incoming junior at Troy High School, and our president of Outreach Helping Hands.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anna Lee, an incoming junior at Bonita High School and a new member of Outreach Helping Hands.
Tonight, we are honored to welcome Yun Tong, or also known as Momo Wu, as our guest speaker on the topic of art, curation, and education, guys. Momo currently serves as the gallery director at the Progress Gallery in Pomona, CA, and is an accomplished artist, creator, and educator based in Southern California.
Momo has an impressive professional background. She founded Ginkgo Art Gallery and has curated numerous exhibitions across the region. Momo also teaches art at her own studio and holds a Master of Fine Arts degree from the San Francisco Art Institute. Her active involvement in the Southern California art community has made significant contributions to the field.
Thank you, Anna. Now let's welcome Momo to share her fascinating experiences and insights into the worlds of art, curation, and education. Audience, feel free to leave your questions for Momo in the chat box during the presentation or after. Welcome, Momo.
All right, thank you guys. You guys sound very professional. Thank you. Hi everyone. My name is Momo. Yuntong Wu, and I'm an artist, curator, and an art educator. So my presentation will be consisted by 3 parts. So the first part, I'm gonna talk about me being an artist, and second part, I'm gonna talk about a couple shows that I curated recently. And the third part, I'm just gonna briefly talk about my education and some of my great students. So let's start. Okay, so I just want to first share with you guys some my recent works or work in progress. So this work, this series of work is not done yet, but I imagine it to be consisted by probably hundreds of the small microorganisms made by ceramic and glazes. So a lot of my work is having this idea of macro and micro, or macro in micro, because I always believe that we have this connection between the inside of us to the profound of the universe. And I think the inside of us is considered the micro, and I metaphor this with microorganism. And I also do big paintings in bigger dimensions, which I paint the universe, the cosmos scenes in that big paintings. So it seems that it's extreme, but if you have like the spectrum from the smallest, the tiniest scale to the biggest scale, then you're thinking about linearly. But if you think about, this is not a linear spectrum. If we connect the start and the bottom like a ring, then we can find some the connection in the subconsciousness, the unspoken unity between the smallest entity to the biggest entity. So anyways, I had lots of fun playing with the colors and playing with the clay. And for every single one, I try to make them different but looks unified at the same time in terms of color, shapes, opponent elements. And there we go. So this is image that I took before I fire it. So the purple one is the type of glaze that could make it look matte. And then the blue one is the type of glaze, the clear glaze that could make the work clear, glossy. So I love to play with the textures. So later I will show some of my work that I played with textures, materials, and the depth, the three-dimensional depth. So okay, so this is one of my latest work. This is about 74 inches, so pretty big. And so I try to make this imagery that mirrors, that when you look from the sky and the ocean mirrors the sky. So kind of like so I always love this paradox in my work. No matter if it's the micro or macro or the ocean or the sky. So I love to mix them all together, and I love how, people see this kind of paradox in my work. So this is the imagery of the work, but talking about texture, I use the cement, feather finished cement to do the first layer, and then the fine acrylic mediums for the second layer, and get the color down. The color was made by ink. And for the coastal line, I used the white gel pen. So I encourage my audience to get close, even touch my work. So all the islands, I painted a very thin matte varnish on top. And for the ocean part, I lapped it with pouring medium, which is very glossy. So when you touch on the paint, you not only feel the textures of the feather finished cement, but you also feel the difference between the matteness and the glossiness. So that was the contrast between land and water. Oh, land and water. One of my favorite poetry. Write it down. Anyways. so this work is more recent than the last one that I showed. Thanks to Min, I was doing one of her collaboration community artwork. So Min gave me a rice paper, and then I crumbled it together. And then when I opened it, this paper, there's this beautiful wrinkles on this paper, but you cannot see it. So I kind of use pencil to trace it. I didn't even think about anything. I just wanted to trace it. So it's a very in nature impulse of doing things. And I do believe that my own artistic philosophy is that you have to do something from your original motivation, right? So that was one motion that how I started it, tracing these wrinkles. And it turns out really good somehow. So I was like, oh, why not? I start to, use these elements in my artworks. So I started with a series of I don't know if this is called painting anymore because I'm not using any paint in this. So I bought this black rice paper and did it reversely. I drew the white lines on the black paper instead of black lines on white background. And this is 3 out of, I think, 6. So it kind of shows the cracks of that. I'm not sure if this is done yet. I might add more things on that. But this is one of the most recent work that I've done. So again, this is made by feather finish cement and a rice paper. I love to put 2 controversy elements or topics together, like cement, rice paper. One is concrete, one is fragile, one is hard, one is soft, right? So this paradox has always been involved in my work, always. Okay, so some of my earlier work, the left one, I believe I've done it how many years ago? I was in probably 2015 or 2014. When I was still using oil paint to do it. I gave up oil years ago. And just because the water-based mediums are more tolerant, you can dump more materials in it. You can play with different variety of things with it. You can put volcanic ash in it. You can put sand from beach in it. You can do everything with water-based materials, including acrylic, watercolor. But for oil paint, it's not as tolerant as that. Oil paint can only do with oil paint. If you try to do things that it doesn't tolerate, it will act bad. It will get the wrinkles, it will looks not good. So yeah, but since then, I already started to paint the imagery of the cosmos. The right one was the first painting that I started to incorporate with the idea of circle and the ring of the clay. So the middle side, the black ring is 3-dimensional, and that was also one of the first paintings that I made it little 3-dimensional and people can touch it for. So the right one titled White Dwarf, obviously I got the inspiration from White Dwarf, a dying star. So touching up the painting, I've always believed that touching is one of the significant sensory that we always neglect. So when I go to most significant, most big museums like LACMA, MoCA, when people don't see me, I always get close to some painting that I really like, and I just touch it with the tip of my fingers. Because I always believe that if you don't touch it, if you don't really touch it, you wouldn't know it. You should stay. If you really like artwork, if you think this artwork is impactful for you, you should stay in the same space with the painting physically and for a while. And if you can, you should touch it. Because if you don't touch it, you wouldn't know it. At least that's for my work. Okay, and a couple works after that, I started to do more and more circles and rings. I believe that circles are some interesting, one of the most interesting shapes, or sphere could be one of the most interesting forms, geometric forms, that it feels like it's soft, right? But it actually breaks things. So imagine all the traditional Western paintings, they are all rectangles or squares. It's just because paintings were born for decoration, functional decoration use, right? But circles kind of break through this, all right? It breaks through all the lines, all the linear thinkings, all the simplest decoration ideas of that. Because all the architectures, they're all with straight lines, squares and rectangles, right? So if you want to buy a painting and put it in your house, the best way for a painting to display is in a rectangle frame, right? It's best suitable size for architecture. So for the right side of the painting, I started to play with the materials that are unusual to see in painting, like moss, right? Like printmaking on acrylic, which you will never heard of. Okay, so that was it for me being an artist. So start from here, I'm gonna talk about a couple shows that I believe it's important for me as a curator. So this is the very first show that I did when I was in grad school. I didn't know how many the proposals that the school got for this exhibition until the show was happened, and during the opening day, and my friends came to me like, there's only a few people got a few proposals got into the exhibition schedules. I was like, I was so lucky for it. And ever since that, I fall into the curatorial exhibitions. So the title of this exhibition is Fusion. So fusion is a word that originated from ancient India, and it's highly attached with religion. But once Buddhism went to China, and this word has been spread to China too. So, but when Chinese adopt fusion, this word from Buddhism, they started to use it instead of in religion. We started to use this word for Zen garden design, right? So when you say there's a tiny path going into the deep woods or bamboo forest, we say, oh, this atmosphere is Yuxuan. It's the Chinese way of saying it. But actually, Yuxuan was the Japanese pronunciation of that, and the Western word known this word from Japanese culture. So so in English we say it fusion. So I picked this word. It's because it kind of shows how human activities and no matter if it's the outside of activity or the physicality of activity, so it shows how our activities are fluid and how it can be it's changeable geographically, and how our cultural can be intertwined, and how we as as human beings can build up the relationship, build up the connections with one thing. So so in this exhibition, obviously we're connected by art, and all of the artists that I invited, they all concerned about nature, about our planet. So all of the work we're talking about either our planet or environmental issues. So the next exhibition that I'm going to talk about is one of the exhibition that I curated when I was in Progress Gallery. So I curated multiple exhibitions in Progress Gallery, but this one was one of my favorite ones. It's because of the artists. So every time when I curated a show, and when people invite me for a talk, or either a talk during the opening or a talk after, on Zoom like this today, I would say curator is basically just connect everybody together, all the great work. We should give this to the artist, because if there's no artist, if there's no this good works, there will not be the great show like this. So on the left side, excuse me, I talked the whole day today, sorry about that. My voice might sound a little bit crunchy, but crunchy, yes. So the works on the left side, the three works were by one Brandon Monkwood. He's doing furniture design for his living, but in his spare time he do a lot of this big paintings. Again, when we say paintings for this, we need to quote it, right? Because he really just splash paint on it and then use saw to do the lines. So a lot of these lines, they're again three-dimensional, and if you touch it, you can really feel the wood grain. So he was one of my favorite artists. And on the right image, there's the white sculpture on the right bottom. The sculpture was made by Pam Front, and it was made by a poet based in LA, downtown LA, and she write poetry, she sell books for a living, but in her spare time she makes sculptures for art, and this art just literally come from the street that she found on the street. And the white are the plasters. Okay, and some more photos for this exhibition. Some interesting installations. And the photograph on the wall, doesn't show too much of the photographies, but I really like the artist too. She's I guess she teaches history in college, and she always go to like the old Chinatowns around the United States and do this documentary films for capturing and keep our capturing this images of the old towns. So she do a lot of these documentaries, and she also write essays about it. All right, I guess this is a video. I don't know if I can play
Within a
it.
circle of ancestors.
Let's
a
watch
song
this
is a
video first, and
dialogue
I'm gonna
between
talk
the
later.
soul and its body. Pregnant with loss, her skin contracts in its own embrace. Across the pond in a different time, the firebird sings to the carp. He carries her song as a compass. Branches creak, the red river, pink beryl, and cherry blossoms encounter the membrane.
Oh, that was short. I thought it's gonna be longer. So this is one of the exhibition that I curated when I was working with CCMA, Chiefy Community Art Museum in downtown Ontario. Again, I don't know how I don't know how come that I got so much involved with these poets. Or poets love artists. So I invited two poets. One what was that? So some scholars in liberal arts study. I forgot which special area. So I invited them to write the poems, but at the same time create artworks or create artworks based on some written poems or some written text. So that was a really fun show together with some very intelligent people. We talked a lot about I want to say philosophy, but that sounds like a big word. But anyways, we talked about a lot of fun topics. So there we go. This is another show. It's a bit hilarious, but I enjoyed it. Min also had one of her work in it. It was really cute. So Cats and Other Mysteries. I got a lot of positive comments for this show. Usually I don't do that because Cats has been exposed too much over social media, over television. But I think by that time I just been doing too much work, and I was like, okay, I don't want to think about nothing. I just want to do a casual show. So I picked this title, this exhibition theme when I was with my cats. So yeah, that was the curatorial part. So I'm gonna enter the last part of my art talk. Is the art education part. So this photo is from one of the exhibitions that I did for my student. It's in downtown Ontario again, Paul Williams Gallery. I knew this gallery only through Progress Gallery, which I worked it for 2 years. So so there are a lot of a lot of these connections that you need to deal with in the artwork. If you decided to be an artist, if you decided to be a curator, you have to intentionally make a lot of these connections. I'm very bad at that. I'm very passive person, but luckily I don't know how. But luckily people like to approach me. So Tori, the gallery owner, she also approached me through the Progress Gallery. She came into the gallery one day, and we talked a little about the current exhibition. Then she suddenly told me, it was like, are you an artist? I was like, yes, how can you tell? And then she said, I can tell through our conversation. And she said, do you want to do a show? And I was like, yes, but actually I didn't want to do a show because I had too much things on my calendar by then. But because I'm the passive person, so I never turn people down, really. So I was like, yeah. And then my solo show happened, and then the second show and the third show, and I did so many shows with Tori together. And she's a really nice person. I'm so glad that I had this connection with her. So yeah, this is so I did 2 shows for my student in her gallery. And obviously we all had fun. To see work putting on the wall, it's just very feeling, it's a good thing. Okay, so I guess this is the last page, right? Oh no. So I started teaching when I was 19 years old. So sophomore summer, I suddenly decide I want to find a part-time job. and I taught kids drawing, integral art education, and the right to paintings are the photos. The right to images are photos from then. So I would say that I learned from my students, and no less than they learned from me. I mean, imagine Picasso spent all his later life learning how to paint like a kid, right? It's really hard to paint like a kid. So I would say that by spending time with my student, I did learn a lot from them, like the inspirations, the way that the perspective that they see the world, and the innovations, the spark that it comes out in a second, right? You don't usually think that way in daily life. And the middle image was one of my students when I was 19 during summer. And more than 10 students, we paint together. We paint the mural together. And the left side, I love making things with my students. So the left side, I was so happy that one of my students did something really cute. I was like, oh, look, you have a cute stuff. I have a cute stuffed animal too. We should take a selfie together. Right. So yeah, that was my education, being an art educator experience. Some more of my students' work. So here I have younger students' work, but in this slide, please look at this talented older students' work. They're in their like 14, 15, 16 age. Like, how could that, made out from a 15-year-old student's hand? And when I taught this kid how to do collage, he grasped it right away, and then he did it better than me. And I literally posted a moment, say, hey, I have a student who do collage better than me. Oh, by the way, collage is it's a kind of art form that you cut things and you collage them, so you have some ready-made stuff and then you incorporate them with your own mind, with your own opinion, and then play around with it. I love doing collage. It's more like a brainstorming. It's like a training for your brain. Okay, do we have more? Yep, some more works. Oh, these are our works by adult students. When this student first doing Pikachu paintings, I was like, no. I was doing this, covering my face. I was, no, why you do this? so ridiculous. But after she done 9 of it, I was like, this is a series. These are pieces of art. And then so one core thing of making art and being artist is to make your work cohesive, because that represents that you can focus on a thing for a long enough time, right? So when she made the stuffed animal, the I don't know what's the name of that little anime character. So I was like, okay, this is your way. You should continue to do that. You're right. So I found during the class, I not only learned a lot from my student, but a lot of times I found that sometimes my student was right because they know themselves better than me. So I feel like recently I've been trying to give up a lot of control on their making decisions, like not the technical help. If they say, hey, I want to do this one, but I don't know how to, or like I don't know how to mix this color, I think there's some problem with it, but I don't know how to fix it, like this kind of technical problems, yes, I will help. But if my students say, hey, I want to put the black island, it just happened today, my student want to put black colored island black with a pink background. I'm like, personally, I won't do it, but if you really like it, you want to do it, go ahead. So yeah, that's it. That's all my experience I was going to share. Being an artist, curator, and educator. So that was very quiet. So it's just me in the room. Do you guys have any questions? How do we do on time? 40 minutes.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Okay. So that was it. That was my talk. So do you guys have any questions based on my talk? My sharing?
We're gonna do questions from like a list.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Momo, for the insightful and fascinating presentation. I especially learned a lot when you shared about the exciting projects and exhibitions you've curated. These contributions are impressive and have made a huge impact on our artistic community.
Thank you
Thank you.
very, very much, Momo, for your
Thank you.
insights. After
Thank
your
you.
presentation, I'm sure we all have a lot of questions for you. I'll start with one. What was the most challenging aspect of being an artist and a curator during your journey?
The most thing. I would say being artist is more like you use your right side of the brain, but curatorial projects, you have to balancing a lot of multitasking work. You have to do a lot of social works. You're using more of your left side brain. So, but probably because I like paradox. But I don't feel like that's not doable. It feels challenging for me if I quickly switch two roles in a day or in a short time, which happens a lot. So yeah, I would say that was the most challenging part.
I also have a question for Momo. So I'm really interested in art education, and I'm curious about your thoughts on the impact of art education on young adults and the community.
Young adults in community. I wouldn't say art is a skill that you really have to, you really have to learn about. It's more like an experience. It's more like a perspective. It's more like how you see things. So it's different than a lot of other disciplines. Like, so for example, playing instruments, right? It requires more skills. Language, it requires more skills. But for painting, I always tell my students, if you have a good eye, you don't even have to have a good hand to paint it. You just need to see where's the problem, and you can paint with your feet. I literally say that. It's all about the perspective you've seen it. And a lot of my adult students, they say, oh, I started too late. Is this so late for me to start it? I waste so much of my time. I waste decades of my earlier life. So if I start today doing art, is it going to be too late? I'm like, no, art is not like other disciplines. It's not like any other skills. You just, all of the experience that you already have, all of the memories that you already have, all of the knowledges that you already have, it's not gonna waste it. It's more like a mixture of everything. Making artwork is more like a mixture of everything. So making artwork, it's like bring your true self out. It's like a process of knowing yourself. So the more you know, the longer you live, the better artwork you will make. I won't say better, the richer artwork that you will make. People will see more information from your work. So for young adults in community, I really think making art is something that we all should do. It's just because we all should know ourselves. Yeah, so yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, that you answered my question. I really like your perspective on it's like behind the thought and like the emotion behind the art, not really like the physical aspect.
Right.
Puts it in like a different perspective. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Now let's take a look at the questions our audience has for Momo.
Ming Chen said, I know you are also a collector. How do you pick up artwork in market or gallery?
First of all, I doubt that I'm a collector. To be a collector, first you need like tons of more work than I have now. And a lot of work that I have, I didn't pick from galleries. It's more like I curated shows for artists, and in return, like artists give me a gift for it, or we swap artworks between artists. This is like it's a happy habit between artists. So we swap artworks. So so how do I pick our work? I would say so recently I had a class with two of my students. You first need to distinguish what is high art, what is quiche art, right? So never mind, that would be too long. Anyways, so if we open this topic, we will talk a lot of more details on how to distinguish what is quiche, what is. So imagine if this artwork, you can paint it with all the materials that you get from Michael's, then this is more likely to be a quiche. If this is artwork that looks more thoughtful, that it's the complexity is enough to support its imagery, then I would say it's high art. So that's more about aesthetics. So a lot of people say aesthetics is in nature, but I don't agree at all. Aesthetics is definitely educated. Right, so human has this nature to approach things that is beautiful, like for example, sunny beach, right, or flowery field, right? But that sometimes could be too simple to be artistic. Is it clear? So the complexity is the thing, or the profoundness is the point that I would pick for art if I'm buying great art one day. I wish. So Yeah, that's it.
Okay, Momo. Oh, we have another question from Sophia Cheese. What does art mean to you?
Does art mean to me? It's a very nice natural thing, and so I don't think it has a meaning. So according to Marxism, again, very cliche. According to Marxism, we all have this original motivation, right? And this is the pure impulse that we need to do. So imagine in prison that if the most strict punishment is to tell the prisoner to do nothing, right? To make no effort. So making art, it's more like I do this, but without noticing that I'm doing. So I don't think when we talk about meaning, we're talking about pursuing the meaning. But when we make art, when I make art, I feel like I'm pulling something out from me, which is totally natural. It's like speaking. When I have an idea, I speak it out. It's as natural as that. Yes.
Okay, I have another question.
All right.
I was wondering, what are some, wait, oh, sorry, how do you balance your multiple roles as an artist, curator, and educator?
I can barely balance it. I just never turn people down. So when I have a lot of projects to do, I probably sleep less. So easy and straight. So but I don't think they are isolated. They kind of intertwine with each other. So if I had a really good experience in curation,
Yeah.
I would found that I improved my communication skills with students. So I got to know people faster and better. And if I have improved my painting or being artist, then I got into more shows, right? And I got to see how other people do shows, and that kind of helps me being a curator. So I guess three of them, they naturally being one role sometimes, but apparently they're different. But I don't think yeah, they're isolated.